In this video, we're going to look specifically at the use of commas with introductory elements. An introductory element is any word, phrase, or clause that precedes the main clause of a sentence. We will break the video into 4 parts: adverbials, verbals, prepositional phrases, and appositive phrases. When you've watched the video and answered the questions, you can check your answers at monoenglishschool.com. Link in the description below. If you find the video useful, or even enjoy it, please like and comment, and why not subscribe to our channel to see content as we post more. You could also look through more of our materials on our website, monoenglishschool.com. First, we will look at adverbial introductory elements. Most of the time travellers earn reward points. Here, the lack of punctuation creates an unintended message that many time travellers receive bonuses for visiting the past or future. Clarity is the most important aspect of your writing, and therefore we should use commas following introductory elements to avoid confusion whenever necessary. To eliminate our confusion here, think about the message that we are trying to convey and, using that, identify the subject and verb of the main clause. In the example, travellers and earn. This shows that time belongs to an introductory element as it comes before the subject. The confusion in this sentence is caused by the apparent forming of the compound noun time traveller. By placing a comma following the introductory element, we ensure that the intended message is communicated. Most of the time has now been clearly marked as an introductory element to the main clause, travellers earn reward points. In this example, most of the time modifies the entire main clause as an adverbial phrase of time, answering the question, how often? If an introductory adverbial phrase seems to modify the entire main clause, put a comma after it. In this sentence, the adverbial phrase could be replaced by the adverb of frequency, usually. So the sentence would read, usually, travellers earn reward points. Please note that a comma is included after the introductory adverb, as the same rule that applies to adverbial phrases also applies to introductory adverbs. The final adverbial element to consider is the clause. When they earn reward points, customers are more likely to return. We can identify that we have 2 clauses by counting the subjects and verbs. We have 2 subjects, they and customers, and 2 verbs, earn and are. So the first clause is when they earn reward points, and the second is customers are more likely to return. Of those 2 clauses, only the second could form a complete sentence because it expresses a complete thought. This means that it is the main clause, and the first clause in the sentence is subordinate. An adverb clause is a subordinate clause that modifies all or part of the main clause. If we use an introductory adverb clause, we must always follow it with a comma. Now we will move on to verbal introductory elements. Our first example. To earn, customers simply need to travel. Here, the missing mid-sentence punctuation may cause the reader to have to reread the sentence. Even though a quick rereading would resolve any doubts, as there is only one possible subject for the main clause verb, as writers, we should try to ensure our readers comprehend our message the first time. The addition of a comma would accomplish the clarity we desire. We can identify the subject and verb of the main clause, customers and need, and identify that to earn is an introductory infinitive. We should always include a comma following an introductory infinitive. We can extend that infinitive into an infinitive phrase by adding some more information, for example, about what the customers can earn. Again, a comma is always necessary following an introductory infinitive phrase. The next example. Enticed, the travellers often remain loyal to an airline. Again, it seems that the missing mid-sentence punctuation may cause the reader to have to reread the sentence. So for purposes of clarity, we include a comma. We can identify the subject and verb of the main clause, travellers and remain, and identify that enticed is an introductory participle. We should always include a comma following an introductory participle. As with infinitives, we can extend the participle into a participial phrase by adding some more information, for example, about what entices the travellers. And again, a comma is always necessary following an introductory participial phrase. Now we will move on to introductory prepositional phrases. With reward points, the airline and the customer benefit. We have a compound subject of airline and traveller sharing the verb benefit. The main clause is preceded by the short prepositional phrase with reward points. The message is clear, and so a comma is not a requirement. The sentence is correct with or without the comma following the prepositional phrase. Usually, for sentences containing short introductory prepositional phrases of 4 words or fewer, the comma is optional. You should, however, add a comma if it aids clarity. Our next example. Through offering and earning bonuses, airlines attract repeat business and customers receive discounts. With the longer introductory element, a comma would assist the reader. Here we have a compound sentence. The first main clause, with the subject airlines and a verb attract, is linked to the second main clause, with the subject customers and the verb receive, with the coordinating conjunction and. The introductory prepositional phrase, through offering and earning bonuses, clearly relates to both clauses of the compound sentence. Placing a comma following the introductory prepositional phrase clearly designates this. So use a comma following longer introductory prepositional phrases of 5 or more words. You may sometimes see this comma omitted for the purpose of style, but in formal or academic writing, the use of this comma aids clarity and so is recommended. Our next sentence. With large savings for regular travellers, customer retention is high. Here we have a main clause with the subject, customer retention, and the verb is. And in the introductory element, there are two prepositions, with and for, meaning that we have consecutive prepositional phrases before our main clause. Again, for purposes of clarity, we should use a comma following consecutive prepositional phrases that make up an introductory element. The final example of introductory prepositional phrases. With high levels of retention comes the possibility of expansion. In this sentence, we clearly have an introductory prepositional phrase, with high levels of retention, but we do not have a separate subject, which means that the prepositional phrase is functioning as the subject. Therefore, a comma is not required, as subjects should not be separated from their verbs. So, do not use a comma if the prepositional phrase is immediately followed by a verb. A recap: the comma following short introductory prepositional phrases is optional, but if the comma helps with clarity, use it. Use a comma following longer or consecutive introductory prepositional phrases, but do not use a comma if a verb immediately follows the prepositional phrase. Now we will turn to using appositive phrases as introductory elements. The example sentence is, a popular international programme British Airways Executive Club won the International Award at the 2019 TBG Awards. This sentence contains a main clause with the subject British Airways Executive Club and the verb won. Prior to the subject is an appositive phrase that provides bonus information about the subject. This information is not essential to the message of the sentence, and therefore, a popular international programme is a non-restrictive appositive phrase. We should use a comma following a non-restrictive appositive phrase. Now, our final example. The competition's inaugural winner, Sky Miles, celebrated winning the top prize again. This sentence contains an appositive phrase, the competition's inaugural winner, which precedes the main clause's subject, Sky Miles, and verb celebrated. In this instance, the appositive phrase provides essential information about the subject and explains the again at the end of the sentence. This is, therefore, a restrictive appositive phrase, and as such does not require a comma. With restrictive appositive phrases, we do not use commas. The review of introductory appositive phrases. Use a comma after a non-restrictive introductory appositive phrase, but not after a restrictive appositive phrase. So, to review everything, we should always use a comma following introductory adverbials and verbals. With prepositional phrases, we only have to use the comma if the phrase is long, or there is more than one, or if the addition of the comma aids clarity. And we should not use a comma if a phrase is immediately followed by a verb. With appositive phrases, we should use the comma if the information contained in the phrase is non-essential to the message. But if the information is essential to the message, we should not include a comma. Thank you for watching.